Stugatz here. Whether you're into podcasts about ghastly crimes or hip-hop rhymes, there's always something new to discover on Spotify. With a mix of originals and many of the world's most popular shows, listening to podcasts on Spotify is easy. Just open the app, tap Browse, and dive into their growing library. Subscribe to your favorites, including our entire archive, so you'll never miss a show. You can also download podcasts for those moments when you're up in the air or going underground. Podcasts on Spotify are streaming right now. Go check them out today.
With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of getting 2 W's on the road or catching the home run ball without spilling your drink. Double boom. Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
It is time to wake and take with Stugatz. 786-456-4837. That's 786-456-4837. Stu wants to hear from you. 786-456-4837. What's on your mind? 786-456-4837. Have a question for Stu? 786-456-4837. He's taking notes. 786-456-4837. But it is up to you to get them out of him. 786-456-4837. Call now. 786-456-4837. That's 786-456-4837.
It is Wake and Take here on 790 The Tickets. 786-456-4837. I have notes, I have thoughts, I have opinions. I have written them down on a sheet of paper. I could give them to you, but I won't. It is your job to get them out of me. That is your job this morning. Got to ask the right questions. 786-456-4837. But first, we interview Mike Ryan. I'll get to Guillermo in a second. How did the Heat blow that game last night?
How do you lose a game where Wayne Ellington goes 7 of 10?
You can't waste those games.
You cannot. How do we always lose to the Blazers? They had lost 6 in a row entering that game. I know they're due. Absolute turnstile Dion Waiters on defense.
Yeah.
By the way, we can trade him tomorrow. Tomorrow is a day we can trade everybody.
Oh, yeah, it's the trade deadline.
Well, no, it's not the trade deadline.
Well, why can't we trade them?
Because once you sign somebody to a new deal, you can't trade them for like 60 days or...
All right, so the 60-day, it's up.
Yeah, 60 or 90 days.
All right, we can trade everyone tomorrow.
We can trade everybody.
When is the trade deadline, though?
February.
It feels like it's tomorrow.
So the
deadline day.
All right, so the trade deadline situation wasn't in your notes.
That was not in my notes. No, that's why I interviewed Mike. It was clearly in Mike's notes.
By the way, Bam Adebayo on that culture sauce. This kid's a player. He oozes Heat culture.
Wow, that's funny because you were telling me that last year Dion Waiters was on that culture sauce.
Now he's just on the sauce. Now he's just on the extra
on the sauce.
And
right.
now you want to trade him.
Tomorrow.
Man,
Tomorrow.
Yeah, not today.
Dog, have you seen this dude's body? What has happened?
I mean, Dion Waiters has always had a pot belly. Last year was the only year that Dion Waiters didn't have a pot belly.
Put that on the poll, Guillermo. Has Dion Waiters always had a pot belly?
But he was so good last year when he was skinny. Why wouldn't he want to stay skinny?
Because he signed a big contract and got to the destination that everyone told you was where Dion Waiters wanted to get, and he would stop caring after that.
But culture.
Yeah, right. Doesn't really work on Waiters. You noticed, didn't you? Doesn't really work on Waiters. Like it works when Waiters in a contract year.
And now all the things that I loved about his attitude when the shots were going in and the defense was good, I hate now. Now I read a quote like, I ain't going to no bench. And I'm like,
That's right.
Appalled.
Well, yeah, how's that culture working when he says I ain't going to no bench?
It's not the Heat culture I know.
Well, we trade him tomorrow then.
This isn't the Dion Waiters that I know.
It's the Dion Waiters everyone else knows.
Yes, I thought he was different with me. I thought he changed.
You fell in love with the stripper.
I did.
I warned you about falling in love with the stripper.
I did. I'm wrong on Dion. I was wrong. I was wrong.
That's it, though? Isn't it a little early for that?
No, man. He's not.
Sorry.
What is he? How is he going to whip himself into shape mid-season?
I don't know. Are we wrong about this team?
I don't know.
I thought this would be a very good team. I think we were wrong.
You got to win the game that Ellington makes 7 threes.
You can't waste the Ellington game.
It's waning. It's waning, Eric.
Put that on the poll, please. Can you waste the Ellington game? Fair question.
I have been both wrong and right on Dion Waiters somehow.
That's kind of like how I was wrong and right about the University of Miami somehow, right?
41-8. You were wrong.
What? What about
we wear 41-8.
What about losing against the Pittsburgh and the way you lost to
Clemson? You were wrong.
Those don't count.
Orange Bowl.
Big one, you were wrong. Yeah. And Notre Dame blowing them out. I mean, he had Notre Dame winning that game by like double digits.
Yeah, he had Notre Dame winning the game the way that Miami won it.
Yes, but I also had them losing the way they eventually lost to Clemson. That's what I had happening to their season.
Mitigating circumstances. True freshman corner got hurt. Nickel corner couldn't afford that. But trade Dion.
That's it. That's it. Just trade tomorrow. Trade Dion.
Tomorrow's the deadline.
But who wants Dion though? That's the question. Put that on the poll. Who wants Dion?
Wait a minute.
There are choices. Just who wants Dion?
Who wants Dion? Yes or no?
Yes.
What kind of poll is that?
A weird one.
Put it on the poll. Who wants Dion? Yes or no? So way can take polls are always a little confusing.
You'd think polls would be pretty easy, right? Polls would just be easy.
Speaking of polls, yesterday, Chris, welcome you in here. Your dad is furious at the results of one of the polls.
Yeah, he's mad. I was getting, around 11 p.m. last night, I was getting berated with texts from my dad. And he seems genuinely upset. And he came in second place.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, he's upset.
Wait a minute.
Friend of the show.
No, second place. Of course he's going to be offended by that. Why was Cody on that list of friend of the show? He's not a friend of the show. He's a member of the show.
Because you said his name.
You said his name like second when you started listing people.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's my fault then.
Right. So to avoid the huge L that he took at the hands of Jason Leisure, we probably should not have put him on there.
Right.
And now he was open to all this embarrassment that he got because he got worked. Jason Leisure ran away with that.
Leisure blew everyone out. He really did. He got 38% of the vote.
Who were the nominees? Tell everyone the nominees on favorite friend of the show.
Ron McGill, Tim Kirchin, Greg Cody, Alan Thicke, Carrot Top, Kenny G, Ric Flair, Wayne Newton, Nitro the American Gladiator, Bob Einstein, Jason Leisure, Marty Smith, Stan, Pat Sajak, Bomani, John Amici, Pablo Torre, Sarah Spain, Mina Kimes, Amin El Hassan, George Sedano, Israel, Dominique Foxworth, Fake Howard, Fake Jason Jackson, David Hasselhoff, Arash, Frank Caliendo, Tom Izzo, Adam West, Fake Pavarotti, Tim Legler, Charles Barkley, Bud Grant, Tom Izzo, Josh Norman, Burt Reynolds, Kean Fahey, Joe Harper, big Joe Harper, Dallas Diamond Page, Chris Sims, ... Adnan. Now, Adnan, I mean, people were really... They were keeping track of this because Adnan was in that talent meeting at ESPN on the Bristol campus yesterday, and Mike and I were doing the Russillo show, and Adnan kept texting us his thoughts on what place, the percentages, the amount of votes that he was getting. He was not paying attention to the meeting and only paying attention to this poll.
He was thrilled to be top 5. By the way, egregious mistake. We forgot you, Richard Lewis. We're sorry.
Yeah. I mean, Jason Leisure, man. You get over 4,000 votes.
How does someone run away with that, considering all the options there?
How did that happen? Leisure is Leisure guilty of fraud? Put that on the poll.
No,
put that on the poll.
He couldn't care less about this poll. You think he's stuffing a ballot box?
This would be if Jason Leisure legitimately got that kind of voting as friend of the show. It would mean that the listeners of this show get the show even better than we do. That's what that would mean. And I'm not willing to give them that much credit. Or my ego is too substantive to allow it. Either way. Because that's who should win it. In a landslide, weirdly.
Yes.
Only if you're trying to upset everybody, especially if you're trying to get me mad.
And him mad.
Right. You just make everyone, you just spew unhappiness all over the place. It makes no sense that if you had told me Jason Leisure will win this poll in a runaway, or Jason Leisure will be eaten by a dragon while covering an NFL football game.
That had already attacked Tom Brady earlier.
Right, the dragon, right.
Yes.
The dragon would have attacked Tom Brady earlier and then gone to the press box and attacked Jason Leisure. I would have taken that as the example.
Same here.
And it's weird because we have a heat map on this poll. Jason Leisure's never joined our national show. If you've listened to just the national hours on our show, you have no idea who this person is.
Right.
This is Russian hacking. Did Jason Leisure win the poll because of Russian hacking? That's what I want the poll to be.
If there is Russian hacking, it's happening from New York because that's where we received the most votes.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's Leisure from?
Track that? You track that?
We have a heat map, on this specific poll.
Really?
Yeah, this is because so many options, we couldn't use Twitter for this poll. We had to outsource it to a different polling website, and we had a heat map. Most of the votes, overwhelming, New York.
I didn't know it was referred to as a heat map. I know what you're talking about, but I didn't know that that's the reference. Should we call Greg Cody? Or you know what we should do? We should call him at the end of the hour.
Yeah.
And what, apologize to him?
No, I don't think we need to apologize.
Well, I don't think he should have been on that list. No, that's my fault.
We put all the co-hosts on that list.
I know, but I didn't think any of them should be. That's my fault. It should have been more in the spirit. It's my fault. It's my fault.
I don't know.
Wait a minute. Is that alarm because I got to call Bruce Sherman to smoke him out, or is that alarm because Stugatz has to whistle, that today would be a cold day where Stugatz would be able to whistle? Which alarm was that?
That was supposed to be the Bruce Sherman alarm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but Stugatz is still trying to whistle. All right, hold on.
I think I got it. Hold on. Decent weather. Hold on. Let me put my finger up in the air.
You try to whistle, and I'll try to call Bruce Sherman and smoke him out.
You hear it?
There was a second there.
If you're not familiar with Bruce Sherman, he is...
if you're not familiar with whistling, that's what it sounds like.
He's a coward. Bruce Sherman's a coward. If you're not familiar with him, he's hiding behind a meat shield named Derek Jeter. I mean, honest to God, this is like Stephen Ross allowing the Williams sisters to get all the criticism on things that go wrong with the Dolphins. So I'm going to call him up, see if
How about this whistling, though?
Talk on the radio here.
You've reached M4.
Okay.
You're on the call block list, I'm thinking.
I got to get this off of the air. Can't be on the air. Hold on, I got to call back because I've screwed it up. I can't put this person on the air, so I have to.
It's all right, I'll carry us, man. I'm killing it.
Carry us with you. I'm killing it.
Some good whistling. Quality whistling.
So you're doing the wake and take beat.
Nothing's coming out right now.
Wow, Stugatz.
I am good.
You can't
Doesn't
talk.
stop.
You can't talk while Chris is whistling.
Well, on certain days I can when the weather is right.
No,
Yeah.
The gag doesn't work. The gag doesn't.
On certain days I could do both. I whistle out of the left side of my mouth and talk out of my right.
Wait a minute. Sherman has gotten on to me. The party is not accepting calls right now. It went straight to a voicemail. I bet this guy's so rich that he could just create other phone lines. He doesn't know Allison. Allison, get me every number for this dude on Earth. Get me you're not familiar with Allison, are you, Sherman? He's already fixed his phone line because he's a billionaire, so now this is ringing to nowhere. Get me every number for Sherman, Allison, and I'm going to call every number I know and start leaving a message.
Sherman just bought the phone company.
Yeah, he might have done that.
Wow.
Thank you.
You learned.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Don Lebatard.
To refute this guy's point where he's calling it asinine, the comparison.
Wait a minute.
And I'm saying that it's not.
Did you just say defute?
I meant refute.
That is a combination of diffuse and refute. They got together, had sex.
Oh, just answer my question.
And they birthed a defute.
Stugatz.
There was a whirlwind romance between refute and diffuse.
I'm defuted.
And they...
This is the Dan Levatar Show with the Stugatz on the ticket.
You can text the show on the Coral Springs Automall Nissan text line at 67974. David Samson, former Marlins team president, friend of the show, going to join us right now in the Orion Fuel and Downstairs Convenience Stores guest line. They are truly steps beyond convenient.
Did he get friend of the show votes? Was he even nominated? He wasn't nominated. Did you guys nominate him as friend of the show?
He was not on there. No.
David Samson, former Marlins team president. This area is going crazy again, and I want to talk movies with him, and I want to talk about what's going on with the Marlins. Let's start. Thank you for joining us, David. Let's start with the Golden Globes. What do you find interesting about the Golden Globes?
I think I was disappointed that Jordan Peele didn't get a nomination where I thought he deserved one. I thought for Lady Bird, I thought that Greta Gerwig, who's incredibly talented, would get a director's nomination, but she did get, the picture did get some love. I was not surprised that Shape of Water got the love that it got, or Call Me By Your Name got the love it got, or Three Billboards. It's good. I mean, Hollywood Foreign Press, it's like 25 foreign people who are not, necessarily the bellwether, but it's still fun to watch because everyone gets hammered and has fun, so it's worth watching, but I don't use it as my bellwether for my Oscar picks. When
you say Lady Bird, it was it had the highest Rotten Tomatoes rating ever. It's since gone down to 99. It used to be 100. What do you make of it?
I never make anything of Rotten Tomatoes because
no. I'm sorry. Well, go ahead. You can continue, but I mean, what did you make of Lady Bird? But go ahead. What did you mean about Rotten Tomatoes?
I don't find it necessary to talk about what other people think because I'm going to see a movie because I think it's going to be good. So I'll judge it on myself. I won't read any reviews or look at Rotten Tomatoes or pay attention because that's like paying attention to what other people think as it relates to who you're attracted to. I mean, who cares? If you're attracted, you're attracted.
And Lady Bird, the movie, have you seen it yet or not yet?
I have not. I have not, but it certainly will be seen. Everything will be seen by Oscar night. That is for sure.
Okay, and you're thinking, like, if you were voting and you had to go Best Actor, from what you've seen so far, are you going McDermott in Three Billboards or something else?
No, I'm going to say Call Me By Your Name. Timothée Chalamet should win. Denzel Washington was so good in Roman J. Israel, but the movie was such crap. It's so disappointing that it could have been so good. Colin Farrell, and this isn't the movie I'm reviewing today, but Colin Farrell just playing a good guy all of a sudden who has this character arc from what you think is going to be a bad guy to a good guy with an amazing New York accent, by the way, very good. It wasn't good enough, and the screenplay wasn't good enough, and they knew it.
Hold on a minute, David, where are you? You're wandering around your house and you've gotten away from the phone. Where are you?
I'm completely here.
All right, keep going. Keep going.
Your phone's not out.
Your phone went out.
I think it was you. I found Roman J. Israel to be disappointing because the actors knew the movie was crap while they were filming it, and you could tell. And when that happens, the whole movie disappears. But Denzel Washington deserves a nomination, but not a victory.
I am curious, what is the movie that you're reviewing today?
The Hitman's Bodyguard. It's my final non-Oscar review before the Oscars come out because I watched it on a plane recently. Here's the very simple review. It's a poor man's Deadpool. So it's worth watching. Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds are an interesting team. The woman in it is someone who is a French actress who's actually a lawyer, if you can imagine this. And she left the law in order to act. And her name is Elodie Young, and she's terrific. Gary Oldman is horrific as this sort of Belarusian mafia tyrant. And they made his face, it's the opposite of Julian Tavares' face. So it's not like he's the sort of goalie on the dart team. Instead, it looks like he's got breadcrumbs literally all over his face. So it's the most bizarre thing. And he's horrible. But the movie has action. It's got humor, it's got romance, it's got a very good soundtrack of old sort of romantic sappy songs. It's got a ton of swear words. They use the F word in every possible part of speech, which I love. Noun, pronoun, adjective, adverb, conjunction even. Samuel Jackson uses the F word as a conjunction in this movie, which is super cool. But it's worth watching because you're going to spend 2 hours and all of a sudden you're going to land where you're going.
A texter writes in here, Stugatz, why keep having this bleeping guy on who is still on the Marlins payroll? He's not going to say anything, and is a company man. We got a lot of newcomers around here, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to say anything and is a company man. Samson last week said stuff that ended up just...
He's been on here for so long because he's not a company man, and he does say stuff.
He is not a company man. Trust, he is not a company man.
David, we'll get to the Marlins.
I will take a lot of criticisms.
Right.
Believe me, I will. I will not take the criticism that I'm not going to say anything.
David, we'll get to the Marlins in just a second. What's the movie that you were most excited for this year? You went to see it, and it let you down.
So I'm sorry, Stu. I'm never disappointed by movies, even ones that stink, because I love the concept and I love movies. There has not been one movie I saw that was horrible. Really? I even watched, and for your old listeners, like the 4 old ones, I watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which are movies that I never thought I'd see, but I watched them all because I had a really long flight one time, so I watched the whole trilogy flying from Europe back here, and so I'm trying to broaden my palette, and it's working quite well, which is important because I have so much time on my hands.
Right. David Samson with us here on 790 The Ticket. All right. Through the history of movies, give us the movie that would best represent what's going on with the Marlins right now.
That's a good question. That's a good question. Because that makes him, yeah, that's a good question. Good. It is a good question.
8 Men Out.
That was fraud.
8 Men Out.
Okay.
All right.
Well, here's
that's about a triple entendre, and that's pretty quick to come up with, given that you didn't prep me with that question,
yes,
too, and that's a good one.
That's a good job by
I want
you.
to ask you some questions now about the Marlins, because some of this, I've been offended by some of what's happened here, which is that the starting point on this is that Derek Jeter overspent for the team and incurred the debt, and the way to solve the debt was just to get rid of Giancarlo Stanton. Can you explain to me, starting here first, why would someone buy a $1.1 billion or $1.2 billion team if they can't afford it and it's losing money?
Well, I think that's a two-part question. There are only 30 teams, so the team is worth what someone will pay for it. So this team is worth $1.2 billion because that's what that group paid for it. The fact is the team was losing money all the years, despite Deadspin be damned. The team lost a lot of money, and everyone came into the deal eyes wide open. What the plan was, trading Stanton, not trading Stanton, I'm not going to disagree that a potential rebuild was necessary given the fact that we couldn't win for all those years. The only question that new owners always ask themselves is, do you want to come in and start a rebuild now, or do you want to wait? And I totally respect whatever decision they're going to make, and that's not me being a company man, because there's some argument to be made that a rebuild certainly is necessary because, as Derek said correctly, we weren't winning. And as Mike Hill tells me, we're not breaking up the 27 Yankees.
Yes, and that's all fine. I don't understand why Mike Hill still works there, but that's all fine. They're not breaking up the 27 Yankees because he didn't build the 27 Yankees, and neither did you. And you spent a lot of money on Edison Volquez and a bunch of other people who
Terrible.
Well, but this is what I want to ask you. And the part that offended me about Stanton is they gave away something of value as if it didn't have value. And what I want to ask you is, David Samson, former president of the Marlins, did they get enough for Stanton?
My answer is yes, because of the relief, and that matters. And what you do with the relief is what matters. Whether the prospects turn into players, the fact is it gives them a chance. And I want to talk about the debt because there's a lot of misunderstanding. The team did not have $400 million in debt when it was sold. So it's a complicated thing, these businesses. So debt is not the reason why trades are happening. The reason why trades are happening, in my opinion, as an outsider, because I am an outsider, is because they believe it's the best way to build a sustainable team long term, which we tried and couldn't do. We ended up in the middle way too much. Jerry Reinsdorf told me in 1999, whatever you do, don't be in the middle. And that was 18 seasons ago. And we ended up in the middle way, way too often.
David Samson with us here on 790 The Ticket. Would George Moss, who was another guy who was interested in purchasing the team, David, would he have been a better owner for this team and this community?
You know, that's obviously that's an impossible question, but no, because he, in my opinion, whatever he would say today, because he's not the owner and he's trying to do the soccer deal and he's trying to be a member of the community, which he is, obviously a super important member of the community, he would say no. But the answer is yes, only because I think that anyone would do the same thing. Because if I were still there, I must tell you that last year, after Jose died, there was a lot of momentum to rebuild the team last year. Because without Jose, even with the signings, we tried with Volquez, we tried with Chen. That's my issue with Scott Boras, right? Wei-Yin Chen was going to be the end-all, be-all. And he may still be good for these next 3 or 4 years that he's on the team, but the first 2 years haven't worked out well, and that's our fault. Well, and Edinson Volquez had a great no-hitter, but we tried to replace Jose. You can't replace Jose. We tried to get innings and experience and wins, and we didn't get anything. We got a no-hitter, which was awesome, but that's it.
How do you feel about Scott Boras?
I can hardly stand him because I know him. And I don't know what people write about him. I know what he does. I know how he acts. I know what he thinks. And I don't think it's good for baseball. And I've gotten in trouble over this over the years, but guess what? I'm unshackled. I can't get in trouble over it. My view is that it's not totally his fault, and that's what bothers me. We're the ones who gave Wei-Yin Chen that money. All we had to do was say no. And he finds a way to make it so people don't say no. So I could compliment him for that, but I'm so upset and angry about the way he manufactures markets and the way he makes owners feel as though they're the greatest people in the world, and that they're one player away from getting a ring, and that they have one foot in the grave, so they better sign this player to win a World Series before they die. It's straight manipulation, and they haven't figured it out. But as I tweeted yesterday, to me it's 14 minutes and counting, because it's going to come a point where you're going to sign his players, you're going to get burned enough times that you're just going to stop.
Couldn't I make the same accusation of the way that you guys got that stadium built, though? Like, couldn't I say that all the same accusations about manipulation to get your money, to get the money, to get the stadium that now allows you to get out of baseball? Couldn't I file some of those same accusations at you?
No, because I think the difference is that we were pretty clear about what a new stadium meant, and we always talked about the fact that the Marlins were going to stay in Florida. We never intended, obviously, for 2012 to go wrong. We never intended any of those. As I always say to you, Dan, you don't get married with the thought you're going to get divorced, but sometimes it just happens. And when we had to make those deals, it was horrific, but we had no choice because we weren't drawing, because we weren't winning. What I want in Miami is to see Marlins Park with a winning team and then see if fans come. Because if fans don't come when the Marlins win, then we've got a serious baseball problem in South Florida. But we've got to show them winning. Whether it's this year or 4 years from now, there'll still be a beautiful new ballpark. We've got to show winning.
David, would you have paid $1.2 billion for the Marlins?
Another good question by you.
In 2 seconds.
Why?
I wanted to. Because I guarantee you that 10 years from now it'll be worth more. And you get to be one of 30 people running a Major League Baseball team. You may not want to run a Major League Baseball team. You may not want to deal with the bad press. You may be worried or upset about how that is. I'm not saying that this about Jeter. I'm saying in general, it's sort of like the hottest girl in class. You really want to go out with her, and then you get her, and all of a sudden you realize that you can't put 3 sentences together to make a paragraph. And you realize that your bodies don't fit, and you realize that it's total crap. But, man, it seemed good at the time. And that is what buying a baseball team is. It feels so good to be known and to have that ego sort of touched the way an ego gets touched. But then all of a sudden you're not the kingpin anymore because you're getting negative press, which is going to happen for every owner. But this team will be worth more than $1.2 billion because I'm very, very bullish on MLB. I just worry a little bit about what it's going to be like for the Marlins for the next couple of years. But from my standpoint, I just want to see the Marlins win, like I do with the Dolphins and the Heat.
David, going back to the Samson or the Stanton trade question, you said it was good because of the relief it allowed the team, but it seems like the only one that's benefiting from that is the ownership. They just don't have to pay. They're not reinvesting that money in the team, making it better. They're just keeping the money that they would spend on that salary. So how is that benefiting the team other than the ownership?
No, because I think what they do is you take money and you reinvest it when it makes sense. I think the Marlins will be ready to pounce when.
But David, why would we trust these people with that? Like, why? Like I don't. David. When the stadium
you don't trust me, Dan, because I burned you, right? That's why you don't trust me. You have to trust this new administration because they haven't burned anyone yet. Do I think that things could have gone differently? Sure, in terms of communication or PR strategy, but that's not being rude or mean. That's just seeing what I'm seeing being written by you guys. But the fact is, trust that there's a plan and a process and a thought, and believe in it. And maybe David.
No. They built your ballpark. That was the last chance. No is the answer. They deserve to not have a customer next year.
They haven't had a chance, Dan. Give them a chance.
No. Why? Baseball has had a chance. Because baseball
What's
forced
the benefit of being so grumpy, though?
David,
why is that helpful?
David, it's not grumpiness. The MVP of the league just got traded, and we were told that was going to not ever happen again because you already did it once with Cabrera. Once you got your ballpark, and then it happened again. And nobody here is going to.
Dan, hold on, Dan. I will let you absolutely crucify me, but only with facts. Cabrera was not traded after we got a ballpark deal. He was traded before we got a ballpark deal because we didn't have a ballpark deal.
And we were told that would never happen again.
Right, but
if you got your ballpark.
The Blue Jays trade happened right after. The Blue Jays trade happened right after, and that's what made me stop being a fan of baseball because the Blue Jays deal, even though in long term you guys probably won that deal, the sign that it signaled to the fans was business as usual.
Dave, you can't keep doing that and then have new owners or new people expect a different result. You just can't. It's happened too many times in this market by too many people.
It's been 3 owners, and I get it, but now we're up to the 4th owner, and let's hope that it's different. Because what other choice do we have?
A man or a woman cheats.
Member of our community.
Now, a man or a woman cheats on his relationship one time, maybe you forgive it. 2, 3 times, no. You're going to be scarred forever on what your relationship is with future people.
Yeah, I think that's a horrible way to live, and I think that interrupts your relationships with people. Because
I know.
You basically throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yes, but
maybe that's why you're so grumpy and upset all the time.
Well, because it is offensive. What happened here was offensive to people I care about, that taxpayers paid for that stadium, and that's how it ended up with the MVP of the league, traded in his prime, and you guys are telling me...
The tourists paid for the stadium. The tourists and Jeffrey, not
our broke-ass city paid for that stadium, David.
It's a tourist tax that can only go to ballparks. Are we seriously still having a debate? If there were no Marlins Park, there'd be no Marlins in Miami. Would that be better?
At this point, David? Seriously. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'm asking.
No, at this point, maybe.
Dave,
here's the thing, Dave, with the stadium. The stadium was made here with the idea of we're going to make this town major league. How's it feel today, David? Do the Marlins feel major league to you? Being in the major leagues doesn't make you major league. They are a minor league team in the majors that continues to treat South Florida like a brothel, and they just did it with the MVP of the league telling us that guy doesn't have value.
Metaphors. Hey, you're mixing metaphors. A brothel? Come on. I mean, I love brothels, but you're mixing metaphors.
South Florida got screwed on this one, Dave.
Isn't there a chance that the team wins more than 77 games this year?
No.
Dave, you guys have been making that argument for 10 years while never winning over 77 games.
It's not great. I agree. We've signed the wrong players. Maybe now they'll sign the right ones. I'm trying to put a positive spin on it because I'm a member of the community like you are now. I'm not a member of the Marlins. I'm part of the community, and I want to have a belief, and I don't want to live my life being disappointed all the time, so I'm going to try to look at the bright side. You can either go half
Dave,
full or cup half empty.
Dave, you guys can look at the bright side because you got all the money. Like, it's easy to look at the bright side.
I own as much of the team as you do.
No, but what I'm saying is when everyone makes that much money in the transaction after running their business poorly, it's very easy for you from over there to look at the bright side. While the people who are complaining and yelling are not looking at the bright side because they're not the ones who got the money. I guarantee you that if I give those fans any portion of the money that Loria made on this transaction, they'd shut up with their complaining.
Should we just drop money over the town with that help the economy?
Yes, you should do that.
Yes.
I think that if you did the parade you were talking about, you could drop instead of confetti, drop dollar bills.
Yeah, the parade got neutered. The parade got neutered because Jeter's trying to clean up your boss's mess.
Because this guy's worse.
I don't know.
But then if he's trying to clean up an existing mess that he inherited, why is he getting blamed?
Well, I'm blaming baseball. I'm blaming baseball for gifting Jeter the team, and then I blame you for fleecing Jeter. That's what I do. Yeah. You fleeced Jeter. And I believe that franchise sold for about $300 million more than it should have.
So do you.
And that's why
you
Moss
must have good sources. But all I'm asking is this. When you go into a store and buy a piece of art, there's this artist in Miami who I loved at Art Basel. His name is Lebo or something. Lebo. I don't know if you've heard of him. Lebo. He's a very good artist. When someone goes in and buys a Lebo for $50,000, except it's really probably worth $10,000, did the person get fleeced?
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works. Things are worth what someone will pay for it in every part of the economy.
No, and usually that's
David, you're acting like things don't affect the sale of anything. That's ridiculous.
But wait a minute. That's a transaction between two people. But if the end result of that is that transaction, that art that I paid $50,000 for was only worth $10,000, and then I take the remaining $40,000 of difference and I throw it to the New York Yankees and give them part of it and tell them, take all of this and here, you can have it. And here, give me back something from your garbage can. I'll take that and put it in my living room as art. Then yes, I'm going to be a little bit offended.
I think that you've brought it as far as you can bring it. I just don't think anything, and no one gets fleeced when there's a transaction because it's a willing buyer and a willing seller. That's just how it goes. There's no such thing as fleecing unless it's a forced transaction, and there's no such thing as a forced transaction when it's a willing buyer and a willing seller.
No, but wait a minute, David. The part that you're missing is that baseball wanted Jeter, and the other guy had more money. The other guy didn't have to take loans out in order to be able to afford any of this stuff. The other guy didn't have to bring in all sorts of failed partners.
That I shouldn't talk about, but I'm just going to say it. You're 100% wrong. Every single owner who was bidding for the team, potential owner, all of the bidders were in the same exact spot with the same level of debt that they needed for the transaction. There was debt and equity, and that is how things are bought. It's like saying that someone who buys a house for $200,000 and takes out a mortgage for 50 of it is not worthy of owning that house because someone could have bought the house for straight cash. It's just not true.
We'll talk to you soon.
My Lord.
Yeah.
This was awesome. Pretty attack, man.
You enjoyed it, huh?
Good to be back. See you later.
Listen, I can't wait to be back next week to talk more movies.
See you later.
See you about next week.
See you later. Bye, guys.
Dan Lebatard.
Roy, are you ready to give us a Panthers minute? They won last night.
Stugats.
The Panthers lost in a shootout 2-1.
This is the Dan Lebatard Show with the Stugats on the ticket.
Mike Stugats is saying this, and I agree with him. Can we get Lorenzo... Stugats, can you stop opening candy on the air here?
Yeah, it's I'm paying off a grid of death punishment, so I'm just getting ready. I apologize.
What is this grid of death punishment?
This is I believe it's called the Phil Jackson. I got to wear all these rings during the show today.
Oh, my God. So they're candy rings, and you got 10 candy rings? Or what is it, 11 I guess? 11 candy rings?
Yeah, but I'll open them up during the break.
11 ring pops.
Yep.
Is this another one of those grid of death punishments that's going to be a lot harder than you think it is?
Probably, yeah.
You, again, aren't going to be able to type during the show.
I don't know. I think I'll be able to type with these on. I do. I feel like I'll be able to type.
All right. Can you do me the kind favor, Cody, of opening those off air?
Yes. I apologized already and said I would do it during the commercial break. That was very rude of me.
After a contentious interview, and I don't know what the audience did with that interview.
The hardest part of that is not eating them.
I know.
That's the grid of death punishment for Fat Chris.
Yeah.
To wear them on your fingers and not be allowed to eat them. I want to talk. Scott was saying, and this is the producer in him, and I think he's right, that we should re-air that for the national audience because I don't think the national audience has enough facts on some of what's happening here. And so I don't know how we have to cut that up because there was some fat in it. I'd like to keep some of the movie stuff in it because it's weird.
There's a lot that we can cut from that to make that a cohesive 10-minute segment, I think, that we can play a little bit later today. Our 12 o'clock hour is a little jammed, so maybe 11:30.
Whatever. We'll try and figure that out. That needs to air nationally so people can hear someone that's involved with this question instead of just this celebration that's going on in New York because baseball is great and Giancarlo Stanton is great, and now they've got the 2017 Bash Brothers in New York.
Right. And I do think that people around the country are interested in this story because the Yankee element, because Stanton's become such a big star, and you have access to the former Marlins team president who was right in the middle of this sale.
And all of
still
it.
is in the middle.
Well, he is more informed than any of us, right?
Yes.
He's more informed than any of us of the details. And some of this stuff is hard for me to untangle logically, logistically, like in my mind, trying to figure out where it is that I'm supposed to stand on some of this stuff, because I've always been the guy who has argued against, knock it off with tourist tax or taxpayers. I want Major League Sports in my town. I've always argued for that because it serves me, and I'm a single issue voter.
Right.
Like, it serves me. I want Major League stuff in my town.
Right.
And so I fought for those things. And now what I'm making, right, David Samson ran his business in a way that was very beneficial to David Samson and Jeffrey Lurie. There's no disputing that. But the issue there is they ran their business well for them. They ran their business very, very poorly for us. And now we're still feeling the consequences of that. So when he's telling us, I like to look at the bright side, well, okay, it's really easy to look at the bright side when you're not the one getting screwed. You're the ones doing the screwing.
Right, making money off the deal. Yes.
But normally I don't make emotional arguments. I don't make civic pride arguments. When do you ever hear me make rah-rah arguments emotional? I make rational arguments, and I get mad at the emotional people who will not abide my rational with their emotional.
There's only 2 times that I can recall. This time and rah-rah irrational emotion was with Nick Saban, and you have come to regret how you acted.
Yes, yes. Well, but that was poisonous and judgmental in a way that was cruel and was mean. And I do regret that I was leading an angry mob, because the same thing that I led with Nick Saban is what I've now seen since then social media become, and it terrifies me to think that I was once at the forefront of sort of the sports mob that just did what it did to Tennessee. That I did that to Nick Saban.
Right.
And then I came to learn afterward that Huizenga had told him flatly to get Nick Saban, Huizenga, the master closer, told him, if at any point you want to leave, you can do so without penalty and without a bad word from me. They had made that agreement. That's something that my emotion on behalf of South Florida didn't have that information and just torched Nick Saban up and down on his character, when that's not irrelevant information.
Well, in regards to what's going on right now, do you think there's any, not that you can say what you don't know here, but are there any potential pitfalls with this similar to that?
No, I'm not going to look back at this and regret this. Well, here's one thing. There was a mutual friend of mine that a month ago, this part I might regret. There was a mutual friend of ours who 8 weeks ago tried to put me and Jeter together. And I talked to Jeter, and we were going to make a plan. And I think he wanted to avoid what's happened. And I didn't make that meeting. I didn't make that meeting happen. And what's happened since then is that Jeter might have needed some help on sort of handling the public relations of knowing and understanding Miami. It's a mutual friend who's like, he's a really good person in my life.
Right.
I'm glad you're mentioning that, because I think in all of this, I was sort of perplexed as to why, with a guy who's reputed to be so good at public relations like Derek Jeter, why didn't he get out in front of this? Why is this all catching him by surprise?
And he might not have known what he was walking into in Miami, and I think that might have been what he was reaching out on a couple of months ago. And I feel like everything I've said since has torched any ability. Like, the part that I feel bad about here is that now I'm enemy number one of Derek Jeter on some of the stuff he did, and a mutual friend was trying to avoid this.
Right. And so you might look back at that.
Yeah, that part. But I'm mad on behalf of South Florida, and I don't care. I love that mutual friend, and I'd like to help Jeter if I could, but neither one of those things matter to me the way that South Florida matters to me. And
you passed up a chance to have a meeting with Jeets, huh?
Hold on a second.
Something I would never do. Who'd he go to after you? Was it Cody?
That would explain some things.
Yes.
He never reached out to me, so I feel fine about all of this.
Why didn't you reach out to me?
You think if you met with him, you could have stopped all of this, Dan?
No. I think I just could have given him a lay of the land on sort of how the Marlins fan feels. No, I don't think I could have stopped anything.
Sounds like there's a little bit of guilt in your voice.
Don't trade Stanton. Listen, Jeter, the first thing you got to do.
Is this your fault?
It's all his fault.
All of it.
Well, that's why I might have some remorse, because I just looked in the mirror and saw that I traded Stanton.